Hi everyone, it is that time of year again. It is the end of 2023 and I'm filming my Best of Beauty series. So you're going to see makeup, skincare, hair care, body care, fragrance, everything. This video specifically is going to be all about the makeup. This year my makeup tastes really trended toward the natural and toward glowy skin and toward simplicity as a statement. I feel like I moved really away from eyeshadow palettes. It was all about cheeks, sheer washes of color, glossy lips. You're going to see that reflected in my picks, and I think that's just the general way the beauty industry trended this year. There are a lot of new releases here, but as always, there are some old favorites, some holy grails that make it year after year, and if you've followed me this year, if you've watched my past Best of Beauty videos, then you probably won't be surprised, but it is always interesting to see what continues to come up and what things sort of cycle in and out of my makeup collection and my preferences. I am wearing a full face of favorites today, but I am also going to cut in application videos. I think I should have videos of every single item I'm talking about, as well as swatches, just so you can see what these actually look like on the skin. I didn't get to wear them all at once on my face, but you'll see demos. These are always some of my longest videos, so I'll have everything categorized, time-stamped, linked below for your convenience. Bookmark if you want to come back, and I'll also link my past Best of Beauty videos if you're curious to see. I'm gonna go in my order of application, starting with base and then base, cheeks, eyes, and lips. So let's start with primer. This one will be no surprise, and it is a repeat. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Invisible UV Flawless Primer. I just talked about this in my empties, and this is a new one that I just recently opened. I love this because it's SPF 50, and it's a lotiony consistency. There's a bit of pearly glow to it, nothing like the Hollywood Flawless filter, but it just makes your skin look radiant without feeling greasy. I like the added SPF. I find that it holds on to makeup really well. It's not going to be your super long wear primer. That's not why I reach for this. I just reach for it because it makes my skin look good and it gives me additional SPF on top of my SPF. I wouldn't rely on this as my only SPF just because I don't apply it everywhere, but it's nice to have that extra sun protection when and where you want it. This is what it looks like. It's all chemical filters, so it's a sheer SPF. And it just gives you a nice hydrated looking glow. Maybe you can see some of the pearliness come through here, but again, it doesn't look greasy. It doesn't emphasize pores or texture. It actually just makes the skin look really smooth. And it has like a tiny bit of grippiness to it as well that holds on to makeup. Interestingly, I really didn't wear a lot of long wear primers this year. I think my skin is normalizing a bit. I'm 33, I have combo oily skin, but I'm not as oily as I used to be, like in my teens and in my 20s. So I've reached for glowier things that are also long wearing, and when I need that combo, I've turned to Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. I also love this, the Sicily Double Tenseur Primer, but it's very expensive. It's beautiful. It grips onto makeup so well, but obviously this is a more affordable option. And they do the same thing. It's kind of this jelly serum texture. They hold on to makeup, but they also give you luminosity and radiance underneath that makeup. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with these. So this is my primer lineup. I don't wear primer every day, but when I do, I reach for one of these. Moving on to liquid illuminators, I have the Auric Glow Lust. And I actually kind of think of this as a primer because I do prime almost my whole face with it. I do my cheeks, I go even under the eyes, I'll go around my chin and forehead. It's really unique for a liquid illuminator because I find that it actually really smooths over skin. It has a bit of tint in it, and there are like 5, 6, 7 shades of this from very light to very deep with different undertones. And it actually fills in pores. So even though it's a glowy product, it doesn't emphasize texture. I find that it actually makes the skin look really, really smooth, and it looks good with everything. It layers well under any base product. And I actually used this for my wedding. Gabby Alvarez did my makeup, and she always primes her client's skin with this. So I actually have the shade Selenite here, which is a good illuminating winter shade. It has a slightly peachier undertone, undertone. And then I also have the shade Pyrite, which has more of a medium olive undertone. So in the summer I use this, in the winter I use this, and I think Gabby used a combination of this around my face for my wedding day makeup, which I feel like I still owe you a video about that. But it just looks so good. And whenever I wear this, everyone asks about it. It looks good in person, it photographs well. I just can't say enough good things, and one bottle will last you forever. And you know, compared to Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless Filter, I like this because it has a richer consistency and it fills in pores more than the Charlotte Tilbury. All right, let's talk about base makeup, starting with skin tints and moving into higher coverage foundations. Honestly, if I lost all of my base products, I could just survive with this product. This is a brand that released this year. It's CL Cosmetics, and this is Nikki DeRoos' new brand. She's an incredible makeup artist. She's also gorgeous, stunning in person, very kind. And she released an SPF-based brand, which I've reviewed in previous videos. So that'll be no surprise. This is their Tint and Protect SPF 50, and they call it it's a broad spectrum SPF 50. It's a tinted serum. I wear the shade number 4. I think it comes in 13 shades from very light to very deep with amazing undertones. This is my perfect match. This uses mineral SPF, so it's going to be zinc oxide, but you would never know it. It has the most beautiful, elegant finish. I applied it today with a brush, but you can also use fingers, and I also have their sponge, which is one of the best sponges I've ever tried. This is their sponge. It has an angled edge. This is their website exclusive. The rest of the brand is available at Sephora. I wish this were available at Sephora too, but this blew me away, and it's all I reached for several months of the year. Like after I got it, I kind of stopped using other things because it just makes the skin look so good. It really smooths over texture. It gives me a nice glow, but it's not greasy. And it also doesn't gunk up or pill up or do anything weird texturally. I feel like some skin tints, because they have film formers in them, look good, but then they set on the skin and they kind of peel off. This one doesn't do that, and it looks good all day long. And it's amazing for sensitive skin too. There's no fragrance in here, and like I said, it's a mineral SPF. Again, not my only SPF, but I love to see more SPF in makeup, especially when it's elegantly done. I actually just had a family member, an in-law, have skin cancer cells removed from their face. And they said it was because they never wore sunscreen when they were younger. So I'm really always happy to see new SPF technology, new formulas that make SPF application or reapplication really easy. And you will see more CL on this list. But one thing I haven't reviewed on my videos is actually their newer brushes. So they're both dual-sided. This is their complexion brush. They're really cool. They have these really interesting shapes. They blend product out really beautifully. I love this sort of little kitten paw brush. You know, I love this shape for concealer. They also have a blush brush. I'll just tell you this now, even though I'll get to this later. It's a dual-sided blush brush. Right now they only have a liquid cream formula. I'm hoping this means they'll come out with powder because it's powder and cream on either end. I just had to do a little reshuffling and turn on some lights because it just got really dark and rainy outside. So I hope you'll bear with me. I hope it looks okay. I want to talk about one more light coverage product, but I just want to talk about it really quickly because it's not available here in the US. You can get it on YesStyle, but if you're in the EU or Asia, you can get your hands on this, and it's the YSL Touche Claw Glow Packed Cushion. I got this in Korea. It only comes in 4 shades. I wear the shade B30, but if you can get your hands on this, it's the most beautiful, lightweight cushion ever. This is the compact itself, and it's refillable. It's stunning. And this is what it looks like. It has this mesh covering over the cushion itself, and then the product filters through the mesh. Mine is really dirty because it's actually the only base product I just brought with me on a trip. It's so beautiful. Please, YSL, bring this out in the US. It smooths over pores like nothing. It just makes the skin like really soft and sort of filtered. It has a glow, but it's not greasy. It just gives the most beautiful finish. So that's all I'm gonna say. I know a lot of you can't get your hands on it. You can get it on YesStyle, but it's about double the price I think I paid in Korea. but I just had to mention it because I reach for it a ton. In terms of higher coverage, I honestly didn't reach for high coverage foundations very much at all. I just kind of relied on concealers to do that work, but when I did reach for things, I reached for the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This is 5.9. It's a really good neutral golden. And actually, I just tried this recently. You guys know the House Labs Triclone Skin Tech. I have to mention this because the shade match was so good, 190 light cool. I tried this again for the second time 1 or 2 videos ago with my correct shade. And it is a dewy foundation, but I really liked how it made my skin look really smooth. And honestly, shade match is everything when it comes to foundation. Even though I'm a lighter skin tone, I do find my undertones sometimes difficult to match, so I just had to mention this. But yeah, Luminous Silk does the trick every time. It looks great on skin. It looks very skin-like. It gives you coverage, but it doesn't ever look cakey. Old favorite, new favorite, had to mention both of these. So like I said, I have a lot of concealers. I have 4, but they're all different. So I'm gonna start with the Tower 28 concealer. This is the Swipe Right Serum Concealer. I wear the shade EP right now, and this is a great all-over concealer. I find that it has really flexible coverage. It's not too dewy, it's not too matte, and it really sticks to the skin. And even though it has this fluid texture, I find that you don't lose coverage with it as you're spreading it out. It is called a serum concealer, but I wouldn't mistake this for something radiant or glowy. I find that it's just a great like middle of the road, does it all kind of concealer. On the more radiant side for me is the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Concealer. I wear the shade 240. It's a great match for me. This also has a similarly thin, fluid texture, and it also has a pointed doe foot applicator. And I really love how smooth this makes my skin look. It glides over pores, it glides over any texture. I do find it's on the more radiant side, not in a greasy or oily way, like texturally. It's more that there's something in the formula that makes the skin look radiant. I don't know if there's like mica or pearl. It's not glittery by any means, but it just makes my skin look really lit from within. What I'm wearing today is probably the highest coverage concealer of all of these. It's the House Labs concealer in the shade 21. And this is a thicker, stiffer consistency. It's more of like a traditional cream concealer consistency, but I really love the way it wears throughout the day. It's a long wearing concealer. I find that even though it's on the thicker side, it's very spreadable, and it has a slightly more like natural satin matte finish. It's also a really good all over the face concealer too, because I find that it really sticks on and holds onto the skin. For a spot concealer, I really have been loving the Jones Road Face Pencil. So this is their base product. You can use it kind of all over, and I just love the convenience of it. I can just color on, like, let me show you. I can color on any pigmentation, and I just dab it out with a finger. It's great for travel. It's not the highest coverage, but it gives me enough coverage to go over pigmentation, and that's generally how I use it. I do use it sort of interchangeably with my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, but I do like that this comes in pencil form. We're gonna move on to powder. I actually think it's a great time to do that because I feel like I need a touch up. This is the Fit Glow Beauty Powder. This was, I think, in my last year's favorites, and it's just the most blurry, lightweight powder. It leaves your skin still looking soft and blurred and beautiful. It doesn't take away like radiance, but I find that it knocks back shine and it makes the skin look really smooth. It smooths over texture, looks good in person, it looks good on camera. And it's so lightweight that a little bit goes a really long way with this. I also really enjoyed the Milk makeup powders this year. They came out with the Pore Eclipse Translucent Loose Setting Powder in 4 or 5 shades. I am wearing the light shade right now, but I have also used the light medium. Similar to the Fit Glow Beauty, this is blurring, it diffuses over pores. Their Pore Eclipse line is also really good for long wear and mattification. So I think oily to normal skins would really, really like this one. Oh my God. Do you hear that rain? It never rains like this here. Things got pretty creative with powders this year, so I have two non-traditional powders. The first one is the CL Filter and Protect SPF 30 powder. This is a tinted SPF powder that has zinc oxide in it. I haven't been using it lately because this is the shade 02. It's a little bit deep and peachy for me right now. I think I need shade 1, but I love how lightweight this is. It just blurs the skin, it sets makeup in place, and it adds a little bit of extra SPF protection, and it's a nice way to touch up. I also have found that because it is tinted, it's not like it gives you coverage, but if you have any dark spots or pigmentation peeking through, it just kind of creates a nice blurred veil over those spots, and it makes the skin look still very natural, but better, like a silkier version of your skin. And then I jumped on the viral Givenchy Prism Libre loose powder in the shade 3 Voile Rosé this year, not that long ago. And I was surprised how much I really liked this. I think I actually like this best to set the under eyes. I find that it just smooths over the under eyes. There's a bit of brightening for my skin tone, and it's so soft and finely milled. It's very just like a puff of powder, but it does make the skin look really beautiful. In my opinion, it's not a need, it's not a must-have, but it's a nice to have in the routine. So you can see there are 4 different compartments with different shades, although you don't really see the colors. It does come with a puff, but I just kind of like this to set the under eyes, and I feel like it really smooths out the under eye area. This is also the mini size, which makes it more affordable, and I take forever to go through a powder, so I think it's a pretty good deal. For setting spray, no surprise, I love the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. It just makes my makeup last forever without looking heavy, without looking cakey. It doesn't do any weird texture stuff to my skin. It just kind of melts all the makeup together, and it makes it last all day long. And somehow it even makes dewy makeup last all day long, which I think is very difficult to do. I've already mentioned this so much that I won't go on about it. All I'll say is that I just emptied one and immediately opened another one, and I have another one waiting for me. I just won't be without this now. We're gonna move on to cheeks, and I'm gonna start with cream blush because no surprise, I have a lot of cream blush. My most used this year is also my most disgusting to look at, so I apologize in advance. But there is something satisfying about liking a product so much that you work almost all the way through it. This is the Rose Inc Rose Inc, why did I say Divine? Rose Inc Lip and Cheek color in Heliotrope, which is just this light peachy pink. It's not too warm, it's not too cool. There's a bit of a pearl running through it, though you don't really see it on your skin. And I'm wearing it right now, and I'm really glad this compact is actually refillable because I need to order a refill of this shade. I cannot believe I worked my way through a cream blush. This never happens to me because I have a lot of makeup. And when I first reviewed this, I think I said it is a stiff cream blush formula. What I mean by that is that it really sticks around on the cheeks. It actually has quite a bit of stiffness to the formula. It's not a very emollient cream blush, and it melts into the skin and it just kind of stays there. I find that it's really long lasting, even if I don't set it with a powder. It just stays on my cheeks throughout the day. Rose Inc actually just sent over a couple of other shades of this that I'm really excited to try as well. And I also have this in another kind of cranberry winter shade that I love, but this is my goes with everything blush. My other most used blush is not that different. It's the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veil in the shade Barely Blushing. And again, I've hit pan on this one as well. It's a bit of a warmer shade, I would say, than the Heliotrope shade, but it's definitely a really different formula. So this gives you a glossier cheek look. It's a very dewy, radiant sheen, and the formula itself has a melty, dewy touch to it. So if I wear a lot of it, my hair might stick to my face, but it also just makes the skin look so good and juicy that I love it. So here's the comparison between the two. You can see Barely Blushing is a bit more peachy, whereas Heliotrope is a bit more pink. I did review these and I got 3 different colors. I have the just peachy shade and I also have a Rose Crush. I really like that one for winter actually. It gives you more of a berry toned cheek, but for year-round wear, I love these. And I love cream blushes that come in compacts because it's just so easy to use. I can just stick my brush in and bounce it across my cheeks and it takes like 10 seconds. I have to mention my Half Magic Beauty blushes. These are the Cheek Fluffs. I can't remember if they were released last year or at like the end of last year or the beginning of this year, but I love this formula and I never see people talk about it. It's something that I pulled out again in the cooler months, and specifically I love these 3 shades. No surprise, I love that beigey peach. Again, it's like a very nude blush, but I also like to mix it with this earthy pink, and this slightly terracotta blush is really beautiful as well. And well, I like all of them. This pink is really beautiful too. It's not as bright on the cheeks as it looks in the pan. This is a cream formula, but it has kind of a putty-like texture that makes it sort of like a diffused cloud-like blend on the skin. It doesn't feel like a creamy, like a wet cream. It has this like almost matte, soft matte creamy finish. It's great for oily skin, or if you have texture on your skin that you feel like maybe other cream blushes emphasize. I find that this formula actually almost has this like pore blurring quality to it. A formula that surprised me this year was the Mango People multi-stick formula. They sent over quite a few of these, and they remind me of the old Bite Beauty multi-sticks. They are very, very pigmented. They're a great classic blush formula, but just look how pigmented that is. This is the shade Jaipur. That's the one I wore the most. You get incredible wear out of this, and I find that even though it's really pigmented, it's actually pretty easy to blend, and they look so stunning on the skin. That's the shade Fudge. That's a really nice kind of bronzy terracotta rose. And the other shade I wore a lot is Apricot. So that is what that is. I think what surprised me about these is that they're deeper and a lot more richly pigmented on the skin than I expected, which is not a bad thing at all. I think these are going to be so stunning on people of all skin tones. You know, some cream blush formulas can be a little bit sheerer, but these are going to really show up with impact even on deep skin tones. So I think it's a very classic, gorgeous cream stick formula that you can use on the cheeks, and they also look good on the lips, which I feel like everyone says it's for lips and cheeks, but they don't always look good on the lips. These actually do. And then I have one liquid blush formula. No surprise, it's the Ciel Blush and Protect SPF 50. I have 2 shades of this. I think I have Elodie, which is a more coral, bright, poppy shade, and this is the shade Bahati, which is more of an everyday shade for me. So let me show you what that looks like. It's just a very classic, like neutral pink. It has such a gorgeous natural blend across the cheeks. It's really pigmented, which actually kind of surprised me, but it blends out in the most diffused way. And I do find that with liquids, because of the thinness of the formula, it's almost hard to detect where the blush starts and where it ends. It looks like it's coming from within, and that's something that I do think is unique to liquid blush formulas as opposed to creams. I think this comes in a few other shades. They have an even more nude shade that I really want to try, but yeah. And again, this has also SPF 50, and if you're like me and you get sunspots across your cheeks, it's just nice to have a little bit of added SPF sprinkled throughout your makeup routine to give you that extra bit of coverage, because I'll take whatever I can get. For powder blushes, I actually just have one formula in a few different shades, and it's not even a new formula, it's just new to me in my life this year, and it's the Surratt blush formula. If you're not familiar with the Surratt blushes, they have the most beautiful, smooth, I can't even describe it, like cloud-like blend across the cheeks. This is obviously a really bright one. This is Brillant Idée. This is Cherubique, which has, it's like a light pink with the most beautiful kind of sheen running through it, but it's not like a sparkly sheen. And then my go-to nude blush in this line, which is Chaleur. And you can see it's a very brown toned, earthy, dusty rose. Again, a wear with anything kind of blush. And I also have it in a highlighter shade, which is the Coup de Génie. Forgive my French. And that looks like this. This is a formula you really have to, I think, experience in person to understand how beautiful it is. I heard people talking about these for years, and I think especially with powder blushes, you don't really get a sense of how they look on the skin until you try them yourself. They're so finely milled. They look like skin, which is really hard to do with powder blush. Moving on to contour, I only used cream contour this year. I find it's just the most natural way to sculpt when I want that. And the Milk Makeup Sculpt Stick really took the cake. This is a true cool toned contour, and I was so impressed with the shade range. I think this came out in 5 shades, and the deepest shade is truly, truly deep, and the fairest shade works for the most fair. Actually, I'm wearing the fairest shade right now in Toasted, but I've also used the second deepest shade in Stoked. And I reviewed these back in February when they first launched, and I've worn them for basically any special occasion where I've needed a slightly sculpted look ever since. I think they just really nailed the shades where they are that cool toned ashy gray, but they don't make you look dead and they don't make you look like you rubbed dirt on your face. Contour is a really hard thing to get right, and they nailed it. I love their cream stick formula. I have loved it for years. I love their blushes. I love their bronzers. So I was really excited to see them extend this range. And it's the cutest, tiniest stick. I'll never go through it, even with that, because I need very little to get a subtle sculpted look as I did today. I don't sculpt all the time, but when I do, I've been reaching for these consistently throughout the year. Then for cream bronzers, these are kind of what I reach for in my day-to-day life. I think cream bronzers are just so easy to blend. They make the skin look good. They add some light to your face. And I have 2. The first one's kind of controversial, maybe. It's the Tower 28 Sculptino. I only say it's controversial because they described it as a sculpting cream or a soft contour cream. But I do think it is more of a bronzer because they have warmer undertones. This comes in 4 shades. The fair one is very fair. The deep one is deep. I could maybe see an even deeper shade in this range. I would like to see that. Mine is so disgusting. I use it all the time. I'll just take an angled brush. This is the BK Beauty 112, and I'll just like dip it in there and I'll just like pounce it across my cheeks really hard. With reckless abandon. And the thing I like about this is that it's a really sturdy cream formula, kind of like the Rose Ink. It has a bit of stiffness to it. It's not as dewy as their cream blushes, which I do like, but can be a little bit too dewy for my skin. It's not as dewy as that. It just sets down to like a natural cream finish. It's not sticky, it's not shiny. It's just right in the middle. For something that is glossier, and when I want to go for that real like bronze goddess beachy bronze, that's when I go for the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. I wear the shade medium. Mine is also disgusting. I'm surprised I haven't hit pan on this yet. Like the blush, well, actually this came out first, but it is a glossier cheek formula. So I really like to wear this when I have my hair up or when I have my hair pulled back because there is a bit of pearl running through this. Not in a noticeable way, but when you turn your face, you will notice a bit of sheen. It's kind of like a highlighter and a bronzer all in one. For powder bronzers, I had a kind of return to an old favorite this year. It's the Victoria Beckham Beauty Bronzing Brick in the shade 02. This comes in 4 or 5 shades. The range is really good, and each one has 2 pans. So there's a lighter side and a deeper side. It's a completely matte bronzer. I will never go through this because it's a hard pressed powder. It doesn't have much kick up. It doesn't even look powdery. It's so good, especially if you like a soft matte bronzer. And I like the variety of tones in this. It kind of works for me throughout the year because there are 2 different shades. I also like that the bronzer palette itself is refillable, so you can keep that beautiful tortoiseshell packaging and then pop in a powder refill. Moving on to eyes, this is where things get interesting because I hardly reached for any eyeshadow palettes this year, which is so different for me. I do have a couple of things I'll mention, but I have way more singles. First up is a release that was highly anticipated and very loved. It's the Merit Solo Shadows. I reviewed these, you've seen me use them. They're a matte putty-like formula. They're very, very stiff. It's not your creamy eyeshadow formula, but they blend out and create such a nice wash of color across the eyes. These are not your full pigment opaque eyeshadows. These are more for a translucent wash of color across the eyes. I think they're so beautiful and they're really, really long lasting. I have two shades. I have Social and Mid-Century. Social is the one that surprised me the most and that I've actually reached for a ton. It's this cool toned like taupey purple. It has this almost clay-like undertone to it, and it really surprised me because I don't really wear a lot of purple. I don't love it, but this specific shade of taupey purple brown looks really good on my skin tone, and I think it'll look good on a lot of different people. The other shade that I knew I would love is Mid-Century, which is like a chestnut brown. It's warm. It is the kind of thing I typically go for. It has that golden, warm undertone to it. So I like having a cool tone option and a warm tone option in this range. But I do think it does take a bit of time to learn how to use it because it's not your typical creamy formula. I feel like everyone came out with cream eyeshadow sticks this year, and I loved some, didn't love some. Ones that I did love are the Make Beauty Eye Shaping Stilos. These are interesting because they're almost meant to contour and sculpt the eyes. They all come in earthy shades with a variety of undertones, and they're all matte. Though I am excited to see if they come out with like shimmery shades. I love how creamy these are. This is my most worn shade, and this is the shade Sonar. It's a brown that also kind of has this like pinky putty undertone to it. It's a really good sculpting contour shade for my eyes. And I've also worn the shade Horizon a lot. And if you can see, they're kind of a skinny pencil shape. Horizon is a much lighter beigey brown, and this is kind of an all-over shade for me, but they blend out really easily. They're not super pigmented, and they're not extremely matte either. They just kind of blend out to this like natural shadow across the eyes. When I did reach for color, I reached for my eye paints, and I have to mention the Half Magic Beauty eye paints. They're called their Chrome Addiction Eye Paint Plus Liner. They came out with they had a lot of like bright, colorful, textural glitters and stuff. And then they came out with a nudes collection this summer that I really loved. And this is the shade Magic Brownie. How gorgeous is that? It's so pigmented. It's really beautiful. These blend out on the eyes in such a nice diffused way. They don't clump up throughout the day. And they also have glitters. This is the shade Lil Beast, and I love this shade. It's so gorgeous. So that is Lil Beast, and you can see just how wet looking and shiny that is. Now that I've started using glitters in paint form, it's really hard to go back to any other sort of glitter format just because they actually hold the glitter in place. They don't drop throughout the day. It's just an easy way to wear them, especially if you want a controlled application. And I mentioned these last year, but the About Face fluid eye paints are also really great. They have a really wide range of matte colors. Interestingly, I wear Capulets a lot, which is funny because I don't wear blue very much at all, or neon colors. And then I wear Vertigo Flowers a lot, which is a lime green. Again, not a color I wear a lot, but I do wear on the eyes. So that's what these look like, and they're just super pigmented and bright. Okay, this is me, but later. I realized I forgot to tell you what's on my eyes today, and it's another eyeshadow favorite. This is not a new formula. It's the Victoria Beckham Beauty Lid Luster, but they came out with this shade Velvet. It's the most beautiful, like burnished olive, antique gold sort of shade. You guys know I love this formula. They did come out with some newer shades, and this has been a favorite because you know I love and live for a really like dirty olive shade. It just works. When I did reach for eyeshadow palettes, I pretty much exclusively reached for small format eyeshadow palettes. One formula that was new to me this year that really stood out is the La Bouche Rouge eyeshadow formula. This is extremely luxurious. This is not a need, it's a nice to have. It comes with like their leather case, their magnetic case. I forget the colorway that I have because it's a magnetic pan that you pop into this. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe I caught that. I just saw my life flash before my eyes. Oh my God, okay. Maybe don't turn it upside down. It is a strong, really strong magnet. I think I just like held it at a weird angle. This formula is so refined. It's so elegant. It's so smooth. These are all satins and metallics, but they just glide across the eye and blend out like nothing else. I do think powder eyeshadows are one area of makeup in which you see a real difference in the quality between, you know, affordable and extremely luxurious, and this is about as luxurious as it gets. It blends out like nothing. It looks expensive on the eyes. These don't have like a really wet looking sheen or anything like that. They're kind of this like refined silky satin sheen, and they make the eye area look really smooth. Again, not a need to have, but now that I've tried this, I want to try it in other color stories. They're just so easy to blend and so refined. And I think if you're a makeup minimalist, but you like nice things, getting a neutral color story in a formula you really love and using it to the end is really the way to go. Like I said, I didn't really reach for a lot of large palettes, but there was a return to neutral palettes this year, which was kind of interesting. Patrick Ta came out with the Major Dimension 3, which is just neutrals, neutral mattes with 2 cream eyeshadows. It's a formula that I really love, and it's the kind of thing I can just keep on my vanity and use to throw on like a single shade or do a full matte look. It's just easy to use, easy to blend out. And one thing that I did think was interesting was the Danessa Myricks Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette, which I did talk about and demo. Each pan is dual-sided, so there's a powder and like a cream putty. You can use it to contour, you can use it to bronze, sculpt, do eyeshadow, you can do your eyeliner, eyebrows. I've used it for all of those purposes, and I find that it's a really easy formula to work with, whether it's the powder or the putty. I actually even like the putty as a sort of cream eyeshadow on its own. For eyeliner, I've been pretty boring and I've just been going to my usual favorites. I still love the Victoria Beckham Beauty Satin Kajal liner, probably the best. But I will say 2 kind of more like interesting shades that I've used a lot are the shade, I think this is Fig. I've used it up so much that the name is gone. Fig, which is just a matte kind of plummy color. And I've really loved the shade Olive this year, which is the most beautiful, really deep, smoky matte green. It almost doesn't even look green, but it just adds a little bit of something to the eyes. And I feel like both dark green and these plummy shades look really good if you have, you know, darker features or brown eyes. It just adds a slight bit of contrast to your natural eye color to make them pop. This formula also is really easy to work with. You can just tap it to your eye to apply. They're creamy, so it gives you time to smoke out a winged liner, but they also set down. And once they set down, they don't move, they don't smear around, especially when I use an eye primer. They're actually very long lasting on me. I have quite a few mascaras. Quick mention to the Peri Para Ink Mascara Fixer. It's what I use every time for my mascara primer to hold a curl. If you struggle with that, try this. The Tower 28 mascara, I don't think it came out this year, but I used it a ton. I think I went through like 3 of these this year. I've reviewed it before, so again, just a quick mention. A new mascara that I really, really loved was the Talk Beauty mascara, and I specifically loved the spiky wand. I thought this was such an easy way to apply mascara. It has bristles, but they're small and they're kind of finely separated. And this is an interesting texture because the mascara itself is almost like a gel, but I was really able to work it through my lashes. It's not, I don't think, waterproof or tubing or anything like that, but I didn't have any issues with smearing, and I found it to be really buildable. I just opened the Lash Lift by Finding Ferdinand a couple of weeks ago, and this is a tubing formula, another spiky bristle wand, and now that it's dried out a couple of weeks, I really like it even more. I find that I'm able to really build and kind of create a sculpted, fanned out lash shape, and the wand makes it easy to do that. It's also tubing, so it comes off easily. It just comes off with warm water into little tubes and fibers that come off the lashes, and it doesn't smear. So it's kind of everything I like. It gives me enough like length and flutteriness that I like it, and it doesn't weigh down my lashes. The last mascara is a K-Beauty mascara, and I loved it. I can't find it anywhere, but it's the Lily by Red Color Cara. It comes in 5 colors. I got it in the color Rosy Brown, and it was such a nice way to add some brightness to the eyes. It's a brighter color than my natural eye color, but it still has that earthiness to it. So it looks natural, but it's like an interesting way to brighten up brown eyes. It had a traditional bristle wand, but it was really easy to build, really long lasting. If anything, it was kind of difficult to remove. But I liked that because it held a curl throughout the day, and K-Beauty mascaras are really good at that. I am Korean, I have fine lashes, I have really straight lashes, and this formula did not drop. For brows, I tried a lot of different things this year, and I kind of returned to the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, but with a more natural shape. This just gives me the most hold and the most control of any brow gel. There were a few that I liked, like I liked the Half Magic Beauty one, I liked the Rare Beauty one, but they didn't give me quite enough hold. This does, and so I just come back to it every year, year after year. I have been going for slightly less lamination and more of a natural brow shape though, and for that I had a couple different things. If I just wanted a natural pencil, the Shuamura Brow Pencil, a classic. I also used the M Cosmetics Fine Liner Brow Pencil. This is a retractable brow pencil, and it has a very, very teeny tiny tip, and it's good for creating hair-like strokes, and it's not too pigmented. And then I also loved the Victoria Beckham Beauty Baby Blade. I use the shade Dark Brown. This one has a slightly triangular tip, but again, it's teeny tiny. And it's actually very pigmented, but you're able to work the spoolie through it so easily that you're able to create hair-like strokes with this as well. So I kind of use them all interchangeably, but they're all good, I think. The most natural is the Shuamura Brow Pencil. Let's finish off with lips, where I think I have the most variety and probably the most number of products, just because they're easy to swap out of a routine. There were so many fun lip releases this year. I went a little overboard with lip pencils this year, but I found quite a few that I love. I have some old favorites, the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil. Look how teeny tiny this Anywhere Caffeine shade is. This is a classic pencil. It's long lasting, and this shade looks good on everybody. It's a great like earthy nude. The Victoria Beckham Beauty lip pencils, again, a repeat fave. The shade number 2 is, or this is the shade 1, which I've also used a lot. It's a peachy pink. The shade number 2 is a really good sculpting lip shade for me. And the Tower 28 one-liners. I don't know if these came out this year or the last. You can see mine are very well loved. They're pretty short. My 2 most used are Fill Me In, which is a light pink, and Work of Art, which is more of a brownie nude. Lately, I've been liking their brown shade Draw Me as well. And then my 2 new discoveries this year were the Exa lip pencils, the All Smiles Bare lip pencils, a true like pencil formula. I liked the shade Bare Your Soul as like a peachy pink, and then the shade Bare Your Love was kind of a deeper nude, like a brownie nude. And that's a really long-lasting true pencil formula. And the creamiest lip liner of them all, much to my surprise, was actually the Bare Minerals lip liner, which is the Mineralist lip liner. I have 2 shades in Cherished Rose and Striking Spice. And I actually wore Striking Spice a lot because it has this like orangey undertone, but those are the two EXO ones and these are the Bare Minerals ones. Even though the Bare Minerals ones are actual wood pencils, it's almost like the pencil itself is kind of a gel formula. You can see there's even a bit of sheen when I swatch them. So they're the creamiest and also like the shortest lasting because they're creamy. When I want really, really long lasting, I go for a true pencil like the Makeup Forever or Victoria Beckham Beauty. Then I'm gonna go into tinted balms that come in like sticker tube form. I loved the YSL Candy Glaze this year. I think a lot of us fell in love with this formula. The clear shade is, I have one now in my bag, at my desk. I have one, I think, in my car. It is truly a lip treatment. It clicks up and it like melts across the lips. It gives you a ton of shine. It's great for lip prep, but it's also beautiful on its own because it does give you that shine. And then I have a tinted shade in the shade 15. It's a beautiful, like caramely nude, caramely rosy nude. These smooth over any lip lines. They make your lips look so full and plump and juicy because they just create the illusion of very, very smooth lips. And they're shiny, but they also have a bit of grip to them, so they actually stay on the lips. It's so nice. I kind of want like every shade in this range. Another formula I fell in love with was the Naturium Phyto Glow Lip Balms. I think these came out last year. I just tried them this year. They came out with their cafe collection this year, which I loved. Latte is very well used. I, again, keep one in every bag. I have one by my desk. They are really, really thick. They're kind of this like thick gel, and they coat the lips. They're really grippy, but I don't think they're sticky. Like your lips won't stick together. I actually find that because they're so thick, they actually stick onto the lips for a long time and they give you some shine. Some shades are more pigmented than others. The Cafe collection has some deeper browns that are stunning. But again, these are the kind of thing I can wear with or without makeup, and I actually like them so much that I even use them as a lip treatment just on their own. They're also fragrance free, which is nice if you have sensitivity to that. I picked up the Roman D Glasting Lip Balm in the shade Kaya Fig, and it's basically what I've reached for like 5 out of 7 days of the week. It's another melty balm and it coats your lips. It's kind of a dupe to the YSL Candy Glaze. It's a similar concept where it's a soft balm that really melts onto your lips. It has a nice tint to it. It makes your lips look really full. I have the shade Kaya Fig, which I love, and I honestly am going to order more shades because it's so affordable. These retail for like $6 to $8 and they feel like high-end tinted balms. Saltaire just came out with these, so it's kind of a cheat, but I really, really like them. These are the lip oil balms. They have this like creamy vanilla coconut sort of scent, and they are an oil balm, so they're not as thick, for example, as the Naturium Glow Bombs. Those are more of a gel. These come out as sort of this like buttery frosting sort of texture, and then they melt onto the lips and they add a lot of shine. Something that is just easy to wear, hydrating, moisturizing on the lips. Do you sense a theme here? And yet I never get bored of these kinds of formulas. And then an honorary mention for the Hourglass Phantom Volumizing Glossy Balm. This is a click-up pen, and I just love this formula. It lives in my purse. I have 2 shades. Slip, which is a red, but it goes onto the lips and just makes the lips look like a slightly cherry tint. And then I have Trace, which is more of like a beigey caramely shade. I will say these are a little bit minty, and it's moisturizing while it's on the lips, but it doesn't leave my lips moisturized. So I just want to mention that in case peppermint or minty things bug you. They don't actually like bother me in terms of sensitivity. They're just not my preference. It's not very strong at all, but just something worth mentioning. And then I have a few glosses. Again, all of these categories bleed into each other. Some of these are called lip oils, some of these are glosses, some of these are treatments. but they're all something with a doe foot applicator. One of my favorite releases was the Milk Makeup Odyssey Lip Oil Gloss. They're like, we're just gonna do all three. There's a clear one, which I use as like a liquid lip balm. And then these are my three most used shades. I love Work Trip, I love Trek, and I love Explorer. I kind of use them all interchangeably, although some of them have a bit of sheen and a bit of shimmer. Not noticeable, it's not glitter. And some of them don't. So that's just something to note. Like this is a really milky pink Work Trip, no shimmer. Whereas Trek and Explore do have a bit of shimmer, and I've swatched all of the shades. I love these. I think they actually leave my lips softer and more hydrated than before I wore them. They're not super long lasting because again, they're oil balms, but I actually really love the way that they smooth over lip lines and give you actual moisture and hydration. This one I had just had to reach for out of one of my bags, and it's the Amicole lip treatment oil. I have the shade Bliss, and actually mine is almost empty, you can see. I truly do use this as a liquid balm, and I can't say that for all of the things here. It's very, very thick and rich. It's almost like if the Naturium Fido Glow Lip Balm were a liquid. It gives you that grippy feeling. I like it because it actually stays on my lips for a long time. Even if I'm like eating or drinking something, it actually stays on my lips. And Bliss is just a great like nude my lips but better shade. It also really smooths over lip lines and does give you some shine. The Roman D Juicy Lasting Tint is, it's more of a lip stain, I guess, than a gloss. Although they do stay shiny. I love the shade Nucadamia. It's a beautiful earthy pink, and these actually stay shiny and do stain your lips. I also have the shade Fig, which is a really nice, it's more of like a berry tone. And this one I really love for winter, but you can see these have a translucency to them, and they make your lips look really full, and they have like this classic K-beauty, almost like a grape scent that, I don't know, it's very nostalgic for me, but these are stunning on the lips. You can blot them out, you can build them up, and they do leave a stain behind. The last one I have to mention is the Milani Fruit Fetish lip oils. These are quite sheer, and they come with this gorgeous, lovely, chubby doe foot applicator, which I love, and these are much more sheer on the lips. They do, again, have a kind of general fruity scent, but I love that these actually stay on the lips, and they might be my new favorite drugstore lip product. Obviously, you can see I like a lot of luxury makeup, but these perform just like high end. So the first one I swatched is Lychee Nectar, and then the last one I swatched is Blackberry Agave. Gorgeous shades. And then I'm going to finish with lipsticks. I have sheer lipsticks and pigmented lipsticks. Let me tell you what's on my lips right now. These are the Espresso Aroma Light lipsticks, and they are sheer lipsticks that look like this. It's almost like a sheer tinted balm. They actually even have a bit of shine to them, and I never see people talk about these, but they're so good. They smell like coffee. It's so yummy. And this is the shade 04 Wine Me. It looks really deep in the tube, but because it's sheer, it really turns into this gorgeous like berry stain on the lips, and it's actually moisturizing as well. There are only 4 shades. There's like a cherry red, a brown nude, a pink nude, they're all good. And honestly, because they're sheer, they're really easy to wear. And I even really like pairing them with a lip liner. To no one's surprise, I still love the Merit lipsticks. I actually reach for them all the time. I wear Slip a lot, I wear Cabo a lot, and this year I wore Aperitif a ton. This came out with their holiday kit last year, and then I think they brought it out on its own, and it's the most beautiful cherry red, but because it's sheer, it's such a nice way to wear a red lip without committing to like a hardcore or more formal, dressy kind of red lip. I wore this a ton to a couple of summer weddings I went to. It just freshens up the whole face, and it's a very face brightening red. It has that cherry undertone, like that blue undertone, and that always brightens up someone's complexion. It also makes your teeth look whiter. It's just a really lovely, easy color to wear for a red. but also all of the shades are good. Another sheer lip formula that I love is the Rouge Le Balm. So I guess technically it's a tinted balm, although I think of it more in the sheer lipstick category. This shade I wear nonstop, and these are really great for a matte blurred lip. And what I mean by that is that they go on like a balm, kind of almost like the Merit sheer lipsticks, but they create the most beautiful like blurred diffused blend on the lips. My most worn shade is Cherie, but I also love the red in this because similar to Merit, it's also a sheer red. If anything, this is even more of a blue red, and they're slightly less pigmented than the Merit lipsticks. But if you like those and you like that blurred lip look, that kind of like you just kissed someone sort of a lip look, these are such a great formula. No one talks about them, but they're really good. Another very expensive item that I fell in love with this year was the La Bouche Rouge satin lipstick. So this is, again, like you buy the components separately. It's a refillable thing. You buy the leather component. This is the component in camel. It's very lovely. And this satin lipstick formula is so good. You can just pop out the thing. I can't remember what shade this is, but if you like a warm nude, this shade is so beautiful. I know swatched, you're just kind of like, okay, it's like a sheer lipstick. On the lips, it's so silky smooth. It actually feels hydrating, even though it's not a thick formula. It's actually a very thin formula. And it's not opaque. It has a bit of translucency and a bit of shine to it, but this shade on me just brightens my whole complexion. I don't know how to describe it. It has beige, it has a bit of rosiness, a bit of peachiness, and almost like an orange undertone. But on me, it's really flattering. If you have warm undertones, you have to have this shade. I'll link it below. Sorry, I can't remember what the name is. And then closing out with my favorite pigmented lipsticks, another repeat favorite is the Armani Lip Power. My two favorite shades are, wow, mine is disgusting. 110, which is the most beautiful, like warm brick red, but it also has a bit of pink to it. This is another one of those shades that just does something special for me. And this year, this was a little out of my comfort zone, but the shade 507 is this really bright pink red, and I have worn it and gotten a ton of compliments on it. I just really leaned into like bold but sheer lips this year. I guess that was a trend. In terms of like opaque matte lipsticks, Make Beauty came out with their lipsticks this year. These are beautiful components. They're weighty, they are refillable. They came out with like 20, 30 shades. They were all so good. Some really cool, like edgier shades. This is one of my favorites. It's Equilibrium. I guess this one actually has a bit of sheerness to it and a bit of shine. And I really love the slim bullet for precision application. They also came out with some amazing reds in this line. This is Red Emission. I actually wore this to the Make Beauty holiday party, and it is just the most gorgeous, classic, opaque red. It's so stunning. And again, this is one of those blue-based reds that's going to make your teeth look really white. It's a great holiday red, a New Year's red, a summer red. I mean, you can wear a red lip anytime as far as I'm concerned. Okay, everyone, we made it to the end. I always get anxiety doing these videos because I just know I'm gonna leave something out. I try to be as exhaustive as possible, if you couldn't tell. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. And I would really, really love to know what your 2023 makeup favorites were. If you think there's anything I need to check out, any reviews you want to see from me in the coming year. Even though my beauty tastes kind of simplified this year, I obviously still liked a lot of different things. So thank you so much for watching with me to the end if you made it this far. And I really appreciate you being here. I don't want to get too sappy, but you know, for end of year reflections, YouTube, compared to a lot of other platforms, is a space that feels consistently good for me, and it feels consistently like a community. And not every platform feels that way. I'm sure you know, as a viewer and a consumer of social media as well. And this has always been just a really happy place for me, and I hope you can feel that when you're here with me. And if you haven't subscribed, then I hope you will. So with that said, I'll leave you there. I have my best of skincare coming, all the other categories. I'll create them in a playlist and link everything below. So thank you so much again. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.